If there was one tool that can guarantee you long-term martial arts success, it's not cardio, it's not strength training, it's not mobility, it's a good notebook. This notebook could carry you farther than any of those things, hands down. For starters, it's great for your memory. Think about all the times you've been to a seminar or a training session. Now, you might say you could use electronic tools like Evernote or OneDrive, or even just record things with video on your phone. But I find that tends to be a black hole. Those things are great for collecting things like reference articles, history, and so forth, but not so much when you're trying to remember specific little movements about a technique or even just a simple correction that a sensei or coach gave you. Research shows that if we connect our thoughts and our memories with the physical sensation of writing with a pen or pencil on paper, not on a keyboard, not typing, then we're going to remember those things better, longer, and we're going to recall them faster in the future. So here's where I started. I wanted something small, portable. I can just throw it in a pocket and go. Moleskin was always one of my favorites, but you can see it took a little bit of a beating. The elastic got all worn out over time. It took pencil just fine, but these tend to bend. I switched over to Loop Term next, or Loop Term. And this one, I carried a bit longer. You can tell it was starting to come apart. I taped it, and again, the band wasn't lasting. I always added my own pen loops, but, it just really took a beating and got a lot of wear and tear. I thought I would go something more portable, something smaller, and Field Notes worked out okay. This one was a durable version. It had a smoother ink, so more durable for if it was rainy or something like that. And these were okay, but they were a little bit small. Didn't like them as much. They were easy to, again, get mashed and bent in my pocket. So I decided I could do a little bit better. Once I finished with my pocket notebooks, I landed on this guy. This usually rides along with me in my computer bag to work, but it's not unusual for me to leave my computer bag behind and carry this wherever I'm going. The Lockby Field Journal does have its own pen loop built in, but I simply add one to the beginning of my notebook with one of these attachable ones. You can buy these cheap at Amazon. They have some nice dividers and folders over here. I've got my Dojo stickers. I've got what I call Kaizen cards because my students are supposed to be getting better every day. So I send them a little postcard for encouragement. And then we have the actual notebooks. You can fit pretty much any notebook of the same size in here. There's these rubber bands in between that hold them all together. And again, it holds 4 of them pretty comfortably. But Lockby has a grid. They have a plane, which I use for general notes. I have one that I use for journaling. This is their narrow rule, maybe college rule. There's also a wide rule. And then finally they have their planner. This is a weekly spread. And towards the beginning, there is a calendar set up where you can do some planning. I use it almost like a version of a bullet journal where I'll do daily reflections, daily planning, so things like that. Here's some notes I've collected. Here's printed out from one of our books. And then it's got another little folder in the back. I've seen people stash a small Kindle in there. That might take up a little more room, maybe with a an extra notebook or something like that. And sometimes I'll tuck in for my Jodo practice when I'm doing some studying. That will lay in there neatly. Book will close it. Adds a little bit of thickness, but it still holds together. So this has been a really handy field cover. The field journal makes a nice notebook cover, carries all I need, and I can keep working. If you're not sure yet how you're going to use your notebook, it's not a bad idea to start with one of these or even that dollar store cheapo notebook. That said, I wrote down several ideas of how to use my journals in my notebook, so let's take a look at what I've got. For example, journaling. I got into journaling during the COVID period. It was a way to kind of process what was going on and talk about things, keep myself busy. And it was a practice I stuck with. I kind of like it. I use it as a reference. I write down corrections that I received from my instructors, or even just jotting down terminology and other things I find while researching karate. I use it for progress tracking. For example, a habit tracker to see that I'm on task, but also I use things to track like how much am I lifting, What kind of running am I doing? Am I getting my workouts in? I record events. Every black belt test I'm invited to, I bring this notebook. I take notes. What are the instructors saying? What are they looking for? What do the students need to work on? What can we bring to them to improve the dojo? Or what are we missing from the style that we need to make sure we're covering within class? It's a travel log. When I travel, whether it's personal, work, or martial arts related, I write down where I went. What have I done? What did we see? Sometimes I'll even tuck pictures into these things. And finally, I use it for planning and brainstorming. I might write down lesson plans, budgets, plans for the dojo, goals for myself or for work, and just generally keep track of anything that I want to accomplish. I don't personally use it as a day to day to do list. I do use that on my phone. That's more of my off board brain, but that's more for temporary things. If it's something I want to keep permanent, it goes in the notebook. Two karateka I've trained with, both in their 70s, refer to their notebook as a dojo key. I kind of like that term because a good notebook could be the key to unlocking your full potential. And when you leave it behind, it may be the key to those following you in your footsteps. For example, my son might go through my notebook someday and find a lot of things that he can find useful in his training or maybe even in his daily life. Anyway, I hope you found this helpful. I hope it's inspired you to get your own notebook and your own dojo key to unlock your full potential. If you already use a notebook, drop a note in the comments and let me know how you use yours and how it's gone for you. Until next time, good health, train hard, and kampai.